Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of Patrick Jones Baseball, where we find the best tools to build the best players. Going to do a little bit of a different type of episode this week. Um, Title is If I Had a Son Who Wanted to Play Baseball. I thought this would be a perfect time for this because it's the summertime. I know there's dads out there coaching, sons playing everywhere, and I just wanted to give my take on my own experience as a son playing baseball, as a coach, and what I've seen because I'm currently coaching professional baseball, but I've been able to work with kids in middle school and junior high, high school, college, now pro, even Major League Baseball players, and so I've been able to see from even just a development standpoint alone, what you do early on impacts what happens down the road. So again, I'm just going to kind of go through this is under the assumption that my son would want to play baseball. I would never force him to play baseball. I'd want him to do what he wanted to do, but this is under the assumption that he would want to play baseball. So the first thing that I would do, honestly, at a very young age is I put him in gymnastics at a young age, get him to start moving well. I think moving well, the sooner you can start learning your body and going through different movements and just all of that. I think gymnastics is great, awesome for young kids. So I put him in gymnastics, get him moving different kinds of ways that he doesn't even know he could do, and different things, and having fun. I think that would build a good foundation. I would want him, encourage him to play other sports as a young kid too, if he wanted to, and put out different options for him, spark curiosity, and if he wanted to play or try soccer, or basketball, or tennis, piano. I mean, I don't even care, whatever it is, to encourage him and support him in doing that. I think one of the issues that I've seen is for players, the older they get, is it's their identity as a baseball player. And so being able to separate being a baseball player from a person, and it starts when kids are young and they have a bad game, and then the parents upset because they have a bad game, and so they start to tie their identity with how they are as a baseball player. And your identity as a baseball player has nothing to do with your identity as a person. So whether he had a good game or a bad game, as long as he played hard, had fun, was a good teammate, I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna be happy and tell him I love him, and we're still going to the movies afterward, no matter what. I've just seen that for myself too. As a younger player, even as a kid, I was so tied up, and part of that's normal as a kid. So I think it's important as a parent to get them to understand that, hey, like, it's okay, like, not a big deal, nobody's freaking out, we're still happy, you had fun, you played hard, that's what this thing's all about. And it's part of the game. The failure is built into this game, so you can't get away from it, which is why I think baseball is awesome. But I would start at a young age and really make sure that he was aware that no matter if he was in a situation where he struck out in a big situation or made an error, that I'm not getting really angry at him, because that stuff happens. That's not an effort thing. That's a part of the game thing. Because I know as a kid, when I would strike out or made an error, the first thing that I'm doing is I'm looking at my dad. What's his reaction going to be? And that's going to dictate, and then how I felt would dictate based off of his reaction when I did fail or strike out or made an error, or any of those type of things. And I think teaching them early on that failure in baseball is not necessarily striking out or making an error. Failure is not giving 100% effort, and is not going for it and giving your all. That's failure. Striking out, making an error, those type of things. That's not. I don't really view that as failure, because that's part of the game. So it's kind of, I don't know how you would. I've always, as a coach, it's been hard for me to grasp that as failure, because that's not necessarily that's not how I view failure. Failure is not giving it your all, not trying hard. That would be failing. Not if you went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts or made a few errors in the field. So getting them to understand that from a young age would be something that I would emphasize for sure. And I think the main things would be having fun, being a good teammate, and playing hard. That's the main things that I would continually emphasize with him, because I know that if he does that, he's going to have more fun. He's going to want to play more, and he's going to play better. He's going to play better because he's not focusing on himself and his own stats and getting hits. And so when you're not focusing on yourself and you're having fun and being a good teammate and playing hard and that type of a thing, you're going to actually play better. So it's a win-win all across the board. And I think that's an issue in baseball right now, and that's why so many kids are so in their own head a lot of times, because dads are so competitive, I guess maybe is the right word, and they want them to get a hit. They want them on the best team. It's all about them, and none of this would be about me as a parent. It's all would be about my son, not about what goals I had for him. This would be if he wanted to do this. So those are some of the things that I would really encourage and promote for my son, is having fun, being a good teammate, and playing hard. And then whether he had a good game or a bad game doesn't matter. I mean, that doesn't dictate whether I'm happy or not happy. It just, as long as he had fun and played hard and was a good teammate, then great. Then we're moving on and we're going and do something else that's fun after the game, and we'll get after it the next day. So being able to separate that identity from a player and a person at a young age I know will help the older he gets, if he continues to wanting to play baseball. From a player development standpoint, at a young age, I'm throwing curveballs at him at a very young age, because what ends up happening is what separates players the higher up that they get is being able to swing at pitches in the zone, making good swing decisions. At a certain point, everyone can hit the ball hard, everyone can do all the other stuff the higher up you get, but being able to make good swing decisions is crucial. That's what separates elite hitters. And I think part of it is getting kids to work on that at a younger age. They oftentimes wait until high school. So if you can start throwing curveballs and sliders and stuff at him at a young age, before anyone else is doing it against him, other pitchers his own age are doing it, that's going to give him a leg up on the competition. It's going to develop him more. So he's going to get thousands and thousands of more reps seeing that off-speed stuff, seeing those breaking balls, sliders, all change-ups, all that stuff, and it's going to give him a leg up on everyone else. And the older he gets, I would focus a lot of time actually on defense too. I think that's something that's forgotten about. And here's the kicker. I think if you actually focus more on defense and not just hitting, they'll actually become a better hitter, because we emphasize so much. And I'll take part of the blame for this too, because I'm a hitting coach, so I love hitting. I talk about it a lot. I'm going to start putting out some more defensive content in the future. But if you focus on defense, if you make that an emphasis, and it's important, and because it is, they're going to feel less pressure at the plate. So putting an emphasis on defense, because it is so important. If he is able to play college baseball someday, if he's a good defender, he won't actually have to hit as well to be in the lineup every day. And it's going to put less pressure on his bat, so it's going to actually make him a better hitter, because he's not going to feel like he has to hit to be able to get in the lineup, or he has to hit to get seen, to get recruited. It's not putting all our eggs in one basket, so it's being a well-rounded player. Defense is so important. It saves so many runs, and So we would definitely focus a lot of time, equal amount of time on that as we would from a hitting standpoint. From a movement standpoint, I think getting a strong foundation before high school, learning how to hinge, how to squat, moving properly. I wish for myself I would have done that as a younger player, and I know a lot of the information wasn't out there back when I was playing, but I feel like that would have helped me out because looking back, I mechanically had a lot of issues going on, and I think a big part of that was I just wasn't moving well, and from a young age, I didn't have a good foundation. So if I would have had a good foundation, it would have helped propel me in my own career, and I wouldn't have had to focus and think so much about mechanics because I would have already been moving so well. So building that strong foundation before high school is very important. Starting strength training, learning all those proper movements is going to help out immensely. It's going to help out immensely because pitchers are throwing harder than they ever have, even at the high school and college level. And if you don't move well before anything else, then it's going to be really hard to be consistent and be a good quality hitter. I was listening. There's a guy by the name of Dr. Greg Rose, who does an awesome job. I recommend looking him up. He has a company called On Base U he's a part of, and TPI. And one of the things that he talked about is you can develop speed at a much faster rate when your bones are growing faster than your muscles. So for kids at a young age, when they're hitting growth spurts, when they're young and their bones are growing faster than their muscles can even keep up with, they're able to develop speed at a much faster rate. So making sure that the intent to swing hard and throw hard and move fast, that's the goal, not necessarily mechanics or anything like that. Because when you start focusing on mechanics for a younger kid, they are thinking A, and B, since they're thinking about mechanics, they're not able to move as fast. So you're not able to develop that speed when you can in that crucial amount of time, because once that time is gone, it's gone to be able to develop that speed. Now, you can definitely develop it later on, but that is the optimal time is to develop it is when your bones are growing faster than their muscles and they're hitting growth spurts and things like that. So I'd focus on swinging hard, developing that bat speed, throwing hard, all that stuff, developing ballistic speed as a young athlete. And then the older he got, we could work on some of the approach and tactical plans at the plate and leave that for when he was a little bit more experienced and already had a good foundation of strength and speed, because without that, it's tough. I've been able to see it firsthand now. Being able to hit high velocity without having bat speed and strength and being able to do it every day, it's very difficult, very difficult. So that's another thing that I would do. And then lastly, from recruiting standpoint, I think the first thing I would do is I would sit down with them, because I know the recruiting is such a big thing and parents want to help their kids and make their dreams come true and all that. Is, well, the first thing that I would do is like, okay, let's sit down. What is the ultimate goal here? What is the goal? Is the goal to play college baseball? Is it to play in the major leagues? Like, what is it? Because if it's to become a Major League Baseball player, well, then the focus is, well, what school has the best player development in store? At what school am I going to be able to play at right away? Because if you're not playing, I don't know how you're going to develop. And if you're playing and they have a good player development system there, you're going to get to play. Plus, on top of that, you're going to get really good coaching that's going to allow you to develop and get better. So if that's at a D2 school, then I'd say, like, hey, let's go to this D2 school. Like, if you're going to get to play and they know what they're doing from a developmental standpoint, then let's go there. If it's academic, or his goal is to get into a certain school, then maybe it's focusing more on the test scores. I think before anything else, it's finding out what is the goal. I wouldn't do any showcases until he was ready. And if that's not until he's a junior in high school, then it's not until he's a junior in high school. I don't see the benefit of doing a showcase unless he's one of the best players out there, because And maybe I would have an advantage being a baseball coach because I don't need to gauge where he's at by going to a showcase. I would just know from being able to watch games and watch all the other kids and see where they're at. But if he's not the best player, and I don't think you need to necessarily be a coach to be honest with yourself with that, then I don't see. I think the focus should be player development, getting better, not worrying about showcases and showing what you currently have. It's just focusing on getting better, and then eventually, like at some point, like yeah, maybe you go to a showcase, but I don't see the benefit if you're not one of the best until you're a junior. And if you're not by that point, then okay, like it's good to go. But up until that point, I don't personally see it. I wouldn't see the value. So those would be some of the things that I would focus on. If I had a son who wanted to play baseball, I'd make sure that he's the driver here. I'm not pushing him because if it's not coming from him, it's not going to stick. So I'm not gonna be. I wouldn't be a dad that's on the fence. There would be times I'd drop him off and leave. I think that's huge. Drop your kid off at practice, drop him off at the game, and then leave. Like let him be a kid. I think I hear from parents, so and so is so mentally, not there, and he gets upset, and um, it's because you've domed him up, because you're always around and you're always, saying you need to do this or that, or my hands are too high, or mechanics or that. That's why they mentally aren't able to just play and not think, because that's what you're promoting as a parent. So during the game, let them play. Let them play. If anything, it's just going to be positive comments. This game is so hard, and their hitting is so hard. If you're thinking about anything, like you're putting your kid's chances of being successful at risk, because he's thinking about you instead of the pitch. So getting him to just focus and have fun and play hard would be the main thing. Moving well, developing that speed, good foundation, getting strong. And then, what does he want to do? Does he want to continue to play in college? What's his end goal here? And that would help. Once you know what the end goal is, then you can make a plan on how to get there and be honest with yourself. So I hope that helped. I know it's a summertime, and kids are out playing and wanting to get recruited, and dads are out coaching. So I thought this would be a good time to make this this video or this episode if you're listening to this. I hope this helped. And if anyone has any recommendations on future episodes I could go over, I could be more than happy to. But again, just wanted to get this out there. I thought this could potentially help some dads out there coaching. I know I was a son at one time, and so I viewed my dad's opinion of me very highly, and every son wants to make their dad proud. So always keeping that in perspective of when you're watching your son or working with your son, that at the end of the day, he just wants to make you proud. So hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, please make sure to subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening to it on iTunes or podcast platform. Subscribe on there. Please share it with someone, if another parent, or if a coach, if you find it helpful. So I appreciate it. I'll make sure to get ready for next week's episode, and it's going to be another good one. So hope you enjoy it, and hope everyone stays cool out there, because I know it's getting pretty warm in certain parts of the country. So can't wait for next week's episode, and see everyone there.